Greetings, everyone.
Good evening.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, ladies. Welcome to I guess you could call it a green room, our little pre-room before the actual room. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
oh, I couldn't
Can you
hear
hear me?
Now I can. I couldn't. I saw your mouth moving, but I couldn't hear you before. Hi. So I don't know you all, but I love your pieces, and I'm excited to get to know you all. Of course, I know Tierney from the W Woman Preach team, but where are y'all based? I'm based in New York.
I'm in New York as well.
Where at?
So I'm in Long Island, but I work at Mount Sinai Hospital in the city.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's where I be.
Okay. I am in Brooklyn. I lived in Harlem for much longer than I've lived in Brooklyn. But I'm in Bed-Stuy now. Are you a chaplain?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I moved here from Georgia to do the CPE residency at Mount Sinai, and they was like, "Oh, we want to keep you," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Wow. Yo, hats off
um,
to you. I did CPE while I was in divinity school at New York Presbyterian. And I did my 400 hours for the summer. And I said, goodbye, Saints. It was too much. It was stressing me out. But hats off to you all, especially, does that mean they retained you during the pandemic? Like,
yes.
were
So
we in
like,
a pandemic when you came?
yeah. So like I did the internship contextually at Howard, and I was like,
Okay.
oh, absolutely not. I don't want to do this work.
Right.
And the Lord has a way of getting you to see yourself in the work you're going to do. And so I moved.
Wait. Run it back for me. So you from Georgia, but you were in school at Howard when you did Mount Sinai. Give it to me again.
I'm originally from Long Island, New York, but I finished like my rearing in Georgia.
Got you.
I went to college in Memphis, Tennessee. I went to Howard Divinity and School of Social Work.
Got you. Okay.
Went back to Georgia.
Okay.
Worked social worker, then transitioned to CPE. And then I moved here in June of 2020 in the pandemic. Yeah. They retained me. They was like, they didn't offer me one, they offered me two positions actually. So I give God thanks for that because
Come on,
I love
options.
this work. I
Yeah.
love this work. So I want to train other clergy persons because we need to heal ourselves so that we can lead, whether it's pastoring or associate minister. So yeah,
Wow.
that's
Okay, so you're dope and you're in my city, so we need to at some point meet off of Zoom. But
okay.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Now, how do I pronounce your name? Is it Aria? Aria?
Yes, Aria.
Aria?
Aria.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So where are you based?
I'm in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay. Okay.
So
Cool.
I moved to Richmond a couple years ago to go to seminary at Virginia Union.
Hey,
But,
Virginia
yeah,
Union
so-
always represents whenever one of y'all are here.
HBCU,
Y'all show up in droves. I love it.
yeah.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
and I'll
Okay.
just say just to let y'all know, my internet wants to act up today, so I have a backup. That's why I went out just to make sure the backup one was in place. But
Okay. Well, the chat will be our way to communicate with one another, where we can just talk to each other. Of course, they won't see that on Facebook. They'll just see our screens. So if if like you're trying to answer and we can't hear you or whatever, just communicate with us there.
Okay.
We got your back. We'll make sure you don't look crazy in these streets. Rowena, how are you? You're muted, fam. You're muted.
My apologies.
No problem. How are you today?
A little better. Went to see the doctor, so just got up actually.
Oh, wow. Okay. Were you sick?
My boys were sick the past 2 weeks, and over the weekend I just crashed.
Oh, no.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, if at any point you just need to fall back on question, like what's a good mode for you? Like, would you like to talk first, later on? Does it matter? Like, what's your capacity?
Maybe somewhere in the middle or something like that.
We're
Yeah.
in the middle. Okay.
If I
Okay.
start to fade, I'll just send you a note.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just chat me.
Yeah.
Just chat me. Yeah. Okay. I see Janae with her camera on. How you doing today, Janae?
Wow. Yet before the grace of God.
Yes. Your glasses are cute.
Thank you.
Your glasses are cute.
I had to look like an adult today. Surprised I remembered how to put on lipstick.
And Tyranny, how are you?
hey, friend, I'm good. I'm trying to download a different countdown so we don't have the same one we had yesterday because versatility, but it don't want me to be great. So we're gonna see what happens.
Yesterday's countdown was lit. I don't know about you, but I would be just fine with
run it back. Like we can run it back.
the part 2 of running that little 60. That 60 seconds got me hype. Okay.
Say less. We're going to do that.
Yes. Jessica, I saw you in the comments yesterday. So you saw Tyranny in her bag yesterday. Tyranny was one of the writers who was in the conversation yesterday, and we had a good time. That's all I can say. We got a good time.
I was so nervous. I've never. We'll talk as we'll navigate through tonight. I was so nervous to even. This is my first thing I've ever submitted. Someone to see my thoughts on paper.
That's huge.
Thank
It
you for
stretched
letting us
me.
be your first. Oh, that's true.
That's actually really huge. That's
Mhm.
really huge.
I was very nervous. I'm like, I hope this makes sense. What's here? I pray somebody is, like somebody gets something from what I wrote. So
I mean, I can tell you right now, I'll be your first testimony. I did.
I read it. I can.
Look, when 2 or 3 are gathered, you got 2 or 3
Hey.
testimonies. So the Lord did not return void. And when it goes live, I'm sure you have many more. But that's really exciting to know that this is your debut. That's pretty humbling for us. So thank you for that.
thank you for reaching out. I this whole 2 weeks of my life has just transitioned, and I had been on medical leave from work from August. So I'm just getting back to work, just getting ready to start back preaching tomorrow, the
Wow.
whole weekend. And I'm like, oh, I should have said no. I should have said no. But the people who ask, I'm like, I can't tell them no. So, yeah, when Tierney emailed me about writing, I had to say yes because one of my mentors asked me, and I was like, no, I'm not writing. And I think a week later, Tierney emailed me, was like, hey,
Wow.
we'd like you to write. We'd like you to write. And I
Wow.
was like, so thank y'all
Wow.
so much.
Oh,
So
that's
much.
huge. Well, I told them yesterday, this chat we're doing on Facebook, it's just like we're just relaxing, we're kicking back, we're talking about the parts of your pieces that excite y'all the most. So this is not something you have to be, peer reviewed references for your commentary and the whole. Just be yourselves. Just be yourselves. I promise you, on Wednesday at 6:00, people are more intrigued by folks being themselves than sitting through a lecture. So that's what we're trying to give. And yeah, whatever that authentic version is for you. Rowena, what'd you say, Tierney?
I said, come on, authenticity. I did have
Yes.
Some
I
of the
did have
recipe.
yes, the recipe. Come on. I had one quick note. I went back and watched yesterday. We was giving a lot of women preach. So can everybody make sure y'all say which Rise cohort you were in so we can kind of balance it out? Because yesterday we was giving us and it was good, but I don't want nobody to, feel no type of way.
I tried to name Rise at the end because I realized we were WP heavy. And transparency, I was in Rise in the first round in New York, but it was a long time ago in my mind. So the pandemic years are long.
I went to, let's see, Women Preach did something when I was in divinity school, 2013, I think. I think it was 2013. But I will rep Rise because
Wait, where? I could probably tell you what it really was.
What program was that?
at for
What city?
what was the question?
Was it at Alfred Street?
Oh, no, I did Rise New York.
No. What city was the Woman Preach program?
Oh, Washington, D.C. So we met at I want to say United Methodist Church in Northwest DC, but it was like March of, I think 2013. I think.
Okay.
I think.
And you did Rise New York, the like you just graduated, the cohort that just ended?
Yes.
Okay. So I did Rise New York, the cohort just before y'all.
Okay.
Yeah. Rowena, you're still in Connecticut. Are you still in Connecticut? Like, are you based in Connecticut?
In Connecticut. Yeah.
Okay. Because we've met and been in shared space from my time when I was in divinity school, because you're just the greatest. And all the Black Episcopalians told me of you before I even ever met you. And then I feel like you preached one of our joint YBS, like Yale Black Seminarians, Black Episcopalian services.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, and you in the Rise, you were in the Rise cohort that had an Episcopalian women focus?
Yes, but they joined us in with the city union group. So we were mixed in with everyone, which was a lot better.
Okay, I got you.
We started off that way and then they brought us in with everyone.
Okay. Aria, what about you?
I just finished the Rise, I guess, 2022. I was in Richmond, but I'm like, we were the COVID group, right? I came, and I think that was the last trip, that Atlanta conference.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then I remember getting on the plane being like, should I be getting on this flight? People around me coughing.
Wait, were we all at that conference? Was everybody I was at that conference for like a day.
There.
I literally flew in and flew out the last day.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Yeah,
but I stayed in Atlanta, so I left New York to go to the conference as I was legit in the beginning stages of my transition to move up here.
Wow. The
So right when
conference
COVID
was-
hit, I just stayed in Atlanta and I just waited. COVID sucked because it robbed
Yeah.
us from the full in-person experience.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know. That's I'm glad that this is continuing. The virtual conference was this last one was good though.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
All right, I think we're about to start, you all.
Yes.
We got about a minute.
Nate, if you want to be on screen, you can leave your camera on. If you don't want to be on screen, you just
I'm
gotta-
about to turn this camera off.
Okay, I just wanted you to know.
I wanted y'all to see me.
You look cute.
I will say a little thank you so much at
Alright.
the end. I put lipstick on so I could say something.
I about to say curls are popping. I can see them.
At the that's the rain. Listen, it's been pouring in Chicago. Honey. You're doing me a favor. No, I'm disappearing until the end. Okay, bye.
All right. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome, 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 everyone. We are in night 2 of our live chat, and we are so excited to be with you all. We are streaming live from 2 platforms, Women Preach and the Rise Together Women of Color in Ministry Mentoring Network. I am Reverend Gabby Kudger Wilkes. I am your facilitator for today, and we have another amazing night before us. I hope that you all joined us yesterday for our conversation that we kicked off, our live chat, talking to the authors of our writing series, our Holy Week writing series called Womanish Gospel, the Gospel According to Women. And so tonight we are joined by Reverend Jessica Mitchum, Reverend Aria Kirkland Harris, and Reverend Rowena Kemp. And last night we were joined by Reverend Tyranny Jordan, Reverend Tanil Power, and Reverend Antonia Coleman. Also, Reverend Shakima North had a piece that ran yesterday. If you didn't read it, catch it. She wasn't available for the live chat, but you need to read her piece called Seeing Jesus. It will bless you. And make sure you caught up on today's piece by Reverend Tanil Power, Suffering in Silence. Amen. So we're going to hop right in. Tonight is meant to feel like the fellowship hall after you heard all the good preaching and you run into the women who preached and you're like, hold up, sis, when you said this is what happened to my life and I need you not to, that's what this is. Okay. So listen, we're trying to have a good time. I'm going to invite, of course, all the participants, please share this stream. I have already shared it to my page. We want to have a big old fellowship hall, fish fry, good time. And we're only together for an hour. We're in and we out. But we want to have a good time. And so I'm delighted. The 3 writers who we're talking to tonight are our writers for the next 3 pieces. So this is basically the sneak peek night. Okay, because you're getting a sneak peek on our Monday, Thursday piece, on our Good Friday piece, and on our Holy Saturday piece. All right, so I'm going to invite these dynamic writers and preachers and theologians and chaplains to introduce themselves. I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. In the spirit of womanism, we like to allow people to define themselves for themselves. So yes, we have their bios, but every now and again, you want to say the things you want people to know about you today, what you feel like like repping today? What you want people to know about you today? And we respect that. So in any particular order, I'm going to invite these brilliant women to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get into the content of the evening.
I'll go first since I'm unmuted. My name is Jessica Mitchum, also Reverend Jessica. I'm a chaplain and I'm excited to be here tonight.
Awesome.
My name is Aria Kirkland Harris. I am based in Richmond, Virginia, representing a whole bunch of different folk, but I just graduated from the Samuel DeWitt Proctor School of Theology at Virginia Union University in 2021, HBCU's pride. I'm also the Director of Stewardship and Community Development at the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church in Richmond, and representing also the Graduate Fellow at the Katie Geneva Cannon Center for Womanist Leadership, which is at Union Presbyterian in Richmond. Rise 2022 cohort and based out of Richmond, and I'm new to the Woman Preach family. I will be in this, the Jarena Lee Preaching Academy this summer. So excited to be
Hey girl, hey, I'm gonna be in the Jarena Lee Preaching
okay.
Academy this summer too. So we'll
Yes.
see you there. I'll see you there.
Sounds good. I'm excited.
And good evening. I'm the Reverend Rowena Kemp, and I'm in Hartford, Connecticut. I'm the rector of Grace Episcopal Church in Hartford, and I am a 2022 graduate of the Rise Together program, and I'm also a member of the Emerge Circle for Sacred Fire, and so I'm really excited to be here.
Wonderful. This is great. And if you haven't noticed it already, there is a duality here where not only are the hosting organizations for this week Rise and Women Preach, but all of the writers and all of the participants this week have affiliation with both Rise and Women Preach, including myself. I'm a proud sojourner from the inaugural New York City Rise cohort. We finished in 2020, just before the pandemic hit. And I also am a brand strategist at Women Preach. I've been with them coming up on 2 years now. So I love the synergy of women supporting women, especially preaching women, supporting preaching women. I think that both of these organizations, even though Women Preach also supports men in ministry, I think that both of these organizations, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again, have been really instrumental in a relatively short amount of time of curating a community of prophetic preaching individuals across the nation, hundreds of us. And not only has it done the gift of making us stronger proclaimers and more informed proclaimers, but it's given us the gift of community, right? And so I think that that is one of the most important gifts that Rise has been able to give. And I believe it's about 4 years of existence, and that Women Preach has been able to give in its 11-year existence. In the grand scheme of things, that's not that long, y'all, but look how much impact folks can have. And then Rowena, I think I heard you mention the Circle. And so a dear sister friend of mine, Kelly Farrell, launched the Circle a couple of years ago. I'm on the board for them too. Hey, we just rep everybody tonight. And they too have embraced this importance of journeying together, right? There's something powerful about journeying together, and it doesn't have to always be tied to our schooling, right? We have these beautiful moments when we're in seminary or getting a doctorate or whatever, we have a cohort, but then the rest of life happens and you need some people to do life with. And they're not always in your denomination, they're not always in your city, they don't always, but these organizations have helped us find each other. And for that, we are grateful. So if you're tuned in tonight, make sure you follow Women Preach, make sure you follow Rise. And I believe Rise is getting ready to recruit for the next round of women for the fall. So if you are interested in finding your tribe, finding your people, make sure you check that out. All right, I want to get into these articles. They are phenomenal. Like I said, tonight is hey, Shakima's in the chat. She says, sorry, she can't be with us tonight, but she is listening in. She's working hard at the Covenant House where she serves. So yeah, I love that you checked in, Shakima, because that means we're all accounted for. Now all 7 of the writers are accounted for in real time, and we love to see it. All right, y'all. So listen, like I said, tonight's a sneak peek. These articles will be rolling out tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. So we're gonna do a little delicate dance, you all, where I want you all to give some of it, but not all of it. You know how it is. You got to give a taste, you got to give a tease, but we still want folks to go to the website and catch the whole thing. All right. So we're gonna do a little bit of both. I'm gonna go out of order in terms of the days that your articles flow, because I want to go in the spirit of just kind of what y'all wrote about and how I think we can frame this conversation, if that's all right. So I want to start with my good sis, my new sis. I met her tonight, Reverend Aria Kirkland Harris, because you were giving us purple, you were giving us womanism, you were giving us citations, you were giving us authors, you were doing your good womanist work. So I just feel like you're giving a good framework for tonight. So people will read your article on Good Friday. But yeah. I'm really interested in some terms that I got a chance to sneak peek at. And, you know, the Black church, Good Friday, it's like our Super Bowl. Like everybody's preaching 1,000,001 sermons and the whole 9. And, you know, it can get away from us sometimes. And what I love about your article is you kind of draw us back to some things that sometimes we forget to look at, you know, in the busyness and the familiarity of Good Friday. So there's something you said that I want to give back to you. You said, place yourself in the story and pay attention to Jesus's body. You talked about this idea of enfleshment, embodiment, and the purple robe. And then you aren't done. Then you gave us another layer, and you said that you wanted us to see the Christ embodied as a Black woman. Okay. Talk to us about just your approach to this article and just some of the things you were giving us a lot. And, you know, what are some of the things that you're trying to help us reimagine through your piece?
Yeah, I think the first thing is when this was my first time just being able to do a free write in response to the text or other, and bring in other texts since graduating from seminary. And so the invitation was easy. I'm like, the restrictions, there were no restrictions, and it was just open to respond in the way you feel led to respond. And so that was like, yes, I missed the free writing. And so I go to the text and just start brainstorming and just underlining and highlighting the things that jump out. And the first thing I saw was purple. I'm like, okay, I'm good. Womanist is the feminist, that's purple is the lavender. Jesus is a womanist, we're good. And not even to sound, you know, flippant, but because I mentioned that for me, and being faithful to the Womanist Project, whenever there is a woman in the text, I center her and I make her Black. And that can be challenging sometimes for me in the preaching moment, because if you are centering a Black woman's experience in the text, it's often an oppressed experience. And so how do we celebrate that? Because I'm still a good Baptist preacher's kid who wants to get my shout on and celebrate. And so how do we wrestle with that reality? But I think womanism gives us the freedom to see ourselves in the text, to read ourselves into the text, and to claim ourselves as made in the image of the divine. And so this is this idea of, okay, where are we? Where do I see myself here? And so I said, okay, Jesus has this purple robe on. It was meant to be mocking him, but we're going to make it a symbol of power and familiarity. Like I got my purple cup, got represent.
Come on.
The woman, so I was like, I'm not wearing my purple
lots
today.
of purple next to me. I got some purple lotion.
Your calendar in the back. I see that your calendar.
Women purpose things, okay? Make sure we're not ashy and we purple, amen.
Right. But that's meant a lot to me, you know, on the Zoom conversations, since we can't be in each other's presence, seeing something familiar. And for me, purple has become that over the last, you know, few months. The other thing that stood out to me as I was reading the text, the amount of times that there are references to Jesus being handed over or brought out or sent somewhere or summoned somewhere. There were almost 25 plus, depending on how you interpret, references to the movement of Jesus's body. And, you know, the Jews and the scribes and the chief priests and all of them sent them there. And then Pilate doesn't want him. They say, no, you take him. And then and all this time he's in chains. And so just imagine having already been beaten and flogged and spat on and stripped of your clothing, now bound in chains, being passed around to violent groups of people, right? This was the lynch mob that came with torches and, you know, and weapons and whatever, and whatever, I don't know what they came with, but whatever, you know, I started to say something
Yeah.
about the tiki torches, but you know, but it's a lynch mob who are
Yeah.
manhandling Jesus's body and the physical abuse that took, and to see ourselves and being able to recognize that experience as Black women who have our ancestors been chained and passed around and trafficked, and which got me to the third point of Jacqueline Grant's work, White Woman's Christ and Black Woman's Jesus, and this idea, okay. I just felt like that's just where the Spirit led. You know, in seminary, you do this whole survey of all of these texts that you don't really get to dig into. And so I'm like, let me go back and read this again. And it's her dissertation, but she concludes by saying that we have to find Jesus in the community of the oppressed and Black women. And for us, Jesus is a Black woman because we identify with the suffering. And so that's how I was beginning to understand this idea of embodiment and what it means to allow yourself and your soul and your spirit to fully experience what your body is going through. It's a lot, you know, embodiment is hard work. It can be dangerous, pain, it can be beautiful, but to stay present in that can be hard. And so
No, I love it. I love it. When you ask us to pay attention to Jesus's body, what do you want us to look at? What do you want us to see?
You know, it's for me, it's the recognizing of the abuse and the trafficked piece of it. It's the physical pain and the endurance. I think for me, I think some of it's personal. I didn't share all of this into it, but it's reading and seeing ourselves and finding common experience. And so for me, as a woman who's been sexually assaulted or any woman who's been abused or has had that type of harm done to her physical body, what it does to the spirit is like that kind of, you know, Jesus knows kind of thing. It's that, yes, we are in this, that it's not and if we can find ourselves in his suffering, we can also find ourselves in his power to claim the full story. And because it's easy for us as Black women, you know, to identify with the physical suffering. And so in that, yes, that's true. And we can also identify with, we're not going to talk about the resurrection yet because it's still Friday, but for all of the power in Jesus's resistance, still resist like the physical pain and being bound, but still having this brilliant dialogue with Pilate and running circles around him as they're doing this, you know, this crazy Q&A and like in questioning and interrogation. Even through all of that physical anguish, Jesus stays true to who he is and to the truth and the power within him. And so despite the physical, I can't even imagine, you know, what that physical anguish was, to say that you can still have this power within you that comes out, that allows you to, you know, continue on the journey and the task that you've taken up.
Yeah. Wow. First of all, Ashe, you know, thank you for sharing vulnerably about just your experience. We were talking yesterday about some of the ingredients that we want to pass on as our legacy. Like, what do we want to give to women and men coming behind us? And two of those definitions were authenticity and vulnerability. And you just demonstrated that in the moment. So thank you so much. It's not lost on us that you did. And I'm sure that there are some people who are feeling even more seen because you chose to self-disclose in that way. And that is womanish gospel for real, like uncovering the stories. What are the stories of the women? And wow, putting Jesus in that context, that's mind blowing. Jessica, Rowena, what do you feel gets your attention the most if you were to answer this question that Aria has given us, paying attention to Jesus's body? Like what stands out for you when you think about that on the cross moment in Jesus's body?
Yeah, for me, it's about the physical pain, the anguish that his body is going through. So I can relate to Aria sharing vulnerably. You lose power when you're assaulted. You lose your voice when you're assaulted. And it's like, how can I find it again? right? How can I reclaim my power in this? And because Jesus is still on the cross on Good Friday, we're gonna, leave Jesus there on Good Friday. But seeing Jesus, and also seeing myself there as well. People who know me know I've been through a lot, but yet I'm still like living life and navigating and healing.
Hmm.
And for my particular theology, I do believe there's healing once one passes on, because they're not having to deal with the physical, emotional, mental abuse that happens while living this life that we've been called to live or have been so privileged to live.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Ooh, this is good. This is really good. Reverend Rowena, anything to add to what do you see when you pay attention to Jesus' body?
I think for me, just the whole woundedness of Jesus' body. My apologies, my boys are awake. Okay. Just the woundedness of Jesus, and how many of us have wounds that we can't see, but they're there, and those wounds determine at times who we are, and what we do and how we act. And so how do we pay attention to those and still try to live an authentic life, not carry around as those wounds as burdens, but more or less rising above them, and not, like the guy who was on the mat, and Jesus healed him and he got up and walked, but he took his mat with him, right?
Yeah.
He didn't mat, he carried him. So I think it helps us carry our woundedness with us by being able to see those wounds and touch those wounds.
Wow. And your boys are adorable, by the way. But wow, okay, so we've gone somewhere here. This approach of what are the women's stories in the gospel according to women, you're almost given like Jesus having an opportunity to say me too, right? In the sense of like losing power and his body being, to use your words, Aria, trafficked. Like, wow, this is weighty, heavy, beautiful theological handling of some of the things that we miss, that we pass by when we think about Jesus, looking at Jesus's body, paying attention to Jesus's body. Thank you, Aria. Thank you. You took us somewhere really powerful. I'm going to keep going in this vein, but I'm going to shift it a little bit. I want to go to Reverend Jessica's piece because you're dealing with friendship, right? And you're dealing with friendship alongside when people are at their lowest, and what it looks like to kind of have friendship go through those low moments as well as those high moments. And you're dealing a lot with Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, and on Holy Saturday, how they attend to what Jesus's dead body, right? How the friendship remains on the other side of that loss. So talk to us about that piece and just what comes up for you.
I just had a thought that I was like, oh, I should have shared another connection of a relatable story that I've been through when we're talking about friendship. So with Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, their friendship wasn't public, right? But to care for Jesus's lifeless body speaks volumes to me.
Yeah.
So in life, we're always going through transitions and seasons, changes. And sometimes the question is, who's going to show up, right? I still see Jesus as a very strong man who journeyed for the 3 years of his active ministry. But what happened prior to him going into the ministry? What losses did he have? What gains did he have? Who was there with him? Like, yeah, we have the 12 disciples. We have the one that betrayed him. And I'm like, man, I can go anywhere with this story.
Yeah.
because minister, you get betrayed, right? You lose people. You
Yeah.
have lonely seasons. You might end up in the hospital, and it's like looking to the left and to the right, like, sometimes people say, I have all these friends or I know all these people, but who showed up at the bedside? Who shows up at the funeral? Who shows up? Well, before we get to the funeral, who shows up to the wake? Oh, wait, before we even get to the wake and the funeral, who comes to the house?
Yep.
Just come show their presence and bring greetings of, I'm just so sorry, right?
Mhm.
Like, did anyone go and see Mary? Right? Did anyone go see John because she's
Wow.
his best friend? Right? And so I could have wrote a whole lot more, but there will be another time. But that was my thought, because I know what I value in friendship and how I show up for
Yeah.
friends, colleagues, but then also, how do I show up for myself? How can I make sure I'm being a very good friend to myself when I'm like, no, I can't do this, or no, I do not want to do this, because it's going against what I'm feeling internally. And so reading this particular passage, it had me thinking so much about how we're challenged in having authentic friendships.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. You said, did anyone go check on Mary? Did anyone go check on John? I've never heard that asked. We talk about woman, behold thy son, behold, John, look after her. But I've never heard anybody say, did anybody go see? Like, did somebody go see? Anybody lay eyes on? I'm from the South. Anybody go lay eyes on Mary and John? Wow. What a powerful question, right? And this came up a little bit yesterday when Tyranny was talking about her piece, which is going to run on Easter Sunday, and talking about the power of Mary's tears after Jesus has been resurrected, but just kind of this buildup of kind of what you've been through. You still sometimes need to release those emotions, even when stuff, quote unquote, works out, right? All the other stuff. I love it. Okay, I want to come back to friendship, but before I do, I want to get to Reverend Rowena with her piece. Her piece runs tomorrow, on Monday, Thursday. And you started off with a very womanist like visual. I felt like I could see your grandmother's house by the way you narrated for us. So you start off talking about you're a cradle Anglican from Nassau, Bahamas. I love that language. And that you first encountered Jesus at your grandmother's table. So talk to us about your grandmother's table and just that experience of knowing Christ. And then of course you made the parallel of the Monday, Thursday table and who was there and who wasn't.
Yeah. So for me, the table has always been extremely important, because growing up, that's where everything happened in my house. And whenever anyone came to our home, that's where my grandmother welcomed them and sat down with them and fed them and everything else that is about life, right? Life happened at the table. And so for me, the table is extremely important, not only in that regard, but also the fact that I'm an Episcopal priest, right? And so that kind of follows into my sacramental life at the table when we celebrate the Eucharist. And thinking about Maundy Thursday, Holy Thursday, it's the liturgy where we strip the entire church, and we begin with the altar, right? We begin with the table that we gather around, and how when that's done, how naked the sanctuary feels, how naked space is. And so there's lots of sights and sounds that are, are conjured up in that liturgy. And it's all about being at the table at that time and situating yourself in what's happening 2,000 years before. But that table kind of goes throughout our lives, right? Because life in itself can be a table, because who we invite, what stories we share, when there are tables that we're not welcome to, what images and what emotions that conjure up. So it's not only the table that nurture and nourish us, but those tables that force us to be the greater than, to just be accepted, or just to be welcomed in certain places, right? And for me, though I've had a lot of tables where I've been a first, and being a first is a huge responsibility, because you're in a place where you have two responsibilities: one to yourself, and in the present, and one to the future, because you get to that place because of someone else's shoulder that you're standing on. So how do you make sure that while you're there, you open the door, so that those who come behind you will have it even better? And so for me, that's why for me the table is so important, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I had my very first experience of seeing the Episcopal Church do a Maundy Thursday service. Had to be about 3 or 4 years ago. One of my good friends, who was also a classmate of mine, you know her, Pauline Samuel, invited me to preach Maundy Thursday. And I had never preached a Holy Week service at an Episcopal church. And when Verena says they strip the table, like, imagine that you're walking into like a really ornate cathedral or sanctuary, what have you, that has, just the tablecloths that are more than tablecloths, like really like the elements of the experience, and they literally like pull it off. So like it goes from like this really ornate space all the way stripped down to just like a black base. And they do it like after the sermon's been preached, after everything else has been done, and they strip everything. They strip cups, they strip anything that's ornamental, they strip tablecloths, and it's a part of the liturgy. And then I don't know if this was just Reverend Samuel's church or not, but then after that we like walked into like a candlelight vigil in the fellowship hall and like sat in quiet in like a candlelight space, and then people just left as they felt accustomed to. We didn't say anything. I was so impacted by that experience, positively impacted, but just just this transition of the week and how the liturgy supported what's happening in the scriptural text blew my mind.
Yeah. Excuse me. And one of the things that I think adds to not only the solemnity of that liturgy, but in some churches, and particularly ones like my congregation, that's considered excuse me, high church, there is a procession of the sacrament to, in essence, the garden. And so as the sacrament is being processed to the garden, there's a little instrument called crotalus. And when you shake it, it sounds like nails being pounded in. And so it kind of sets the tone for where you're going to be going the next day. Excuse me. My apologies. I'm coming down with something. So yeah. And so and so for me, the power of that liturgy, the power of being at table with my grandmother, and just thinking about tables, you know, where I sit and
Yeah.
what it to sit at those tables, and then tables where I'm not yet sitting, and what it means to get there.
Yeah.
And I apologize, my boys are pretty
No, you're
energetic.
fine. This is like us being at I told y'all it's the fellowship hall. You can't be in a fellowship hall without the kids running around. It ain't a black church if there no children running around and somebody getting in trouble with their mama and, you know,
Gotta
the
get
whole
some
nine.
cake.
Yeah, the cake. You good. And you know, I want to sit in this. So what's come up from each of you is this really powerful visual that I'm seeing, right? Of course, this table imagery that we're getting, the imagery of what do you notice when you pay attention to Jesus's body, which is unlocking some really like vulnerable and authentic stories around agency and power, and lack thereof. And then this kind of what does friendship really look like, right? What does that look like even at your lowest point, right? So what I'm seeing is this kind of synergy among the three of you, forcing us to sit with the lowest points, dare I say, the wilderness moments of our lives, right? And how do we move through it, right? Because womanism is all about like, y'all can act like the wilderness is not coming, but we know the wilderness is coming. We might be in it right now. And how are we gonna live in the midst of this? Right? It's this very like defiant, like you can lie to me and try to tell me that I'm not, you know, experiencing hardship, but I know the truth and I'm going to narrate myself for myself. And I'm going to name the stories of harm. I'm going to name the stories of all these places where people have tried to silence me, right? Because the reality is people try to silence stories that are not, that are not testimonies all the time. Because people don't like to be trapped in feelings of lament. You know, people don't like for you to bring down the mood. They're like, why are you so negative? The brethren in the streets be like, oh, you a womanist, so I know you're gonna be you gonna be on me. You're gonna be, you know, we've all had those experiences where, you know, for whatever reason, people assume that if you are honest about what you're living through, that somehow you're a downer, or you don't have enough faith, or you don't believe that God can save, or all this. And it's none of that. It's actually like my faith is so powerful that I can find tools, right? Dolores Williams talks about the ministerial vision of Jesus. Like I can find tools to make my wilderness not be as desolate as it could be. And I'm still pray for deliverance because I don't glorify suffering. Right. So it's like I'm suffering because of just the state of the world, and humanity is wild, right? But I'm going to live my best life in the midst of whatever suffering I'm forced to endure, because life is just lifing. But I'm never going to glorify that suffering because I know that Jesus already died for me, so I don't have to do that, right? So yesterday we made this bowl of ingredients, right? It was so powerful. So Antonia Coleman kicked off our Holy Week with her writing piece. It ran on Monday, Holy Monday. And she was talking about also, Rowena, at her grandmother's table, she had 4 generations of women in her family who made this, what she calls Have Mercy pound cake, right? And so Antonia was telling us yesterday about the different ingredients of the pound cake and the scent of the cake. And she was talking about how everything that we do in life has a scent, right? You're either repelling or you're bringing towards you, right? And it was just this powerful kind of metaphor for life, kind of what scent are you leaving? And then we pivoted to this question that I asked the group yesterday: what are our ingredients for our legacy? What's one thing that we, as preaching women, want to leave as a legacy for those behind us? They don't have to necessarily be our family members, just folks who are watching us, folks who are coming up behind us. What do we want them to see, right? So out of that came some fun and powerful responses. The first was good loving. You got to watch the clip to understand why that was first. The second was boldness and living with no regrets. The third was authenticity. The fourth was vulnerability. And so together we were like, those are our ingredients for our pound cake, right? So today let's deal with the table, right? So we got the ingredients for the pound cake, right? So we got to put the pound cake somewhere. We got to serve the pound cake somewhere. We got to serve the legacy somewhere. And it seems appropriate to me that we serve this legacy of pound cake at the table, right? So I want to know from you all, when you spread this table, right? This table that has the capacity to deal with actually looking at Jesus's body, the table that has the capacity to hear all of the Me Too stories, the table that has the capacity to deal with looking at lifeless things and still being attentive to it, still being a friend that sticks closer than a brother, and the table of having a seat at certain tables first. And figuring out how am I going to show up in a way that honors me and honors my community. So yesterday we talked about what are the ingredients to our recipe for our legacy. Today I want to know, what are your standards when you set your table? What's one or two things that when you're setting your table, your metaphorical table for how you want to demonstrate or display the things that God has shown you? What are non-negotiables at your table? What's happening? Here, let's do it like this. Give me one thing that's happening at your table and one thing that ain't happening at your table. That feels womanist to me. One thing that's definitely happening at your table might be your mother's fried chicken, might be the seating order. I don't know. And give me one thing that's definitely not at my table, not in my house, not happening. We can go in any order.
Okay, I think I could go. So I think first, what's happening is the truth telling. And so, like, I think to Pastor Gabby, your point about, not holding in the stories, or not holding in the pain, or the violence of what can be some of our theologies, some of the violence that can be in the text, the violence that's in our lives, and so we're going to tell the truth. And to Reverend Jessica's point, and we're going to have friends there that can sit with us in that truth.
Yeah.
Because that's I'm gonna stick to the question, but yes, Reverend Jessica, your point about friendship and those who can hold that truth that when it's like, these people finna come lynch me, can y'all some type of where y'all go with me and have my back? That's a whole nother level of friendship. But that truth telling, what's not happening, and I'm going to use Dr. Cannon's words, is the death dealing theology, or the death dealing language of that anything. Because, when the truth comes, somebody's going to come and try to smite it or shut it down, or and just be like, no, and counter it, or try to oppress it, like that, what you were saying around, people talk about that with mental health all the time, like, oh, your faith wasn't strong enough to get through it. I'm like, nope, anytime that kind of death dealing happens, we're shutting it down.
Come on. I'm coming to your table. I like that table. I like that.
I would say at my table, it's going to be some healing, right? The truth telling, I'm going to borrow that, Aria, because why else would you not show up? For me, showing up, I want the truth. There's going to be some tears.
How about this? Let me pause you real quick. Yesterday, all of our ingredients made one cake. So how about this? Maybe it's one table. So what's your contribution to the table? Because I see you're saying you want to add. So instead of three separate tables, we got one big table. What's your contribution and what's your non-negotiable? I like that.
Right. So as we were talking, like my mind is seeing our table being set. But as women, of women of color, we come with so much. And so when someone's going through something, or whether it's a good thing, a bad thing, a transitional time in their life, we gather at the table, or we gather in space and circle, and we share. We support. We have the shoulders for them to lean and cry on. And so I'm bringing to the table my whole self. And so
Mhm.
that would be the challenge for those who are coming to the circle, to bring their whole self. And if you don't bring your whole self, you're bringing what you have so that you can get your healing and your wholeness.
Mm. I love that. Spoken like a chaplain. And what's not allowed at your table?
Fake and phony. That's the best way I can say.
We know what that means. We can read between the lines.
You know, if
Be
you
like,
don't keep
"Say
your
less."
word, say less. If you don't keep your word, say, "Oh, I'm coming," and then my question to the individual is like, do you really want to do this work? You know,
Ooh. Ooh.
because some people
Yeah.
will show up and not do the work. They want to come and eat,
Uh-oh.
but
Uh-oh.
don't do the work.
Ain't bring nothing.
And
Uh-oh.
I forgot my dish. What you mean you forgot your dish? Like, this is one of the main meats or side dishes or dessert or a beverage. Like, if we're talking about setting the table, you know, we're going to need these things. And so
I love that. I forgot my dish. What you mean? You part of the entree. We can't eat without your dish.
Yeah.
Yo, y'all better work a
Yeah.
metaphor. There's some preaching women right here. That's okay. All right. What else, Reverend Rowena? What else?
I think it's always important to have compassion at the table, because sometimes, you know, we're hardened by life and circumstances, and it's important for us to listen and have compassion, even when we can't imagine or if we have doubts. But to be able to sit with what's being brought to the table and what's being told to us. So I think that's important to have that kind of compassion and to be able to listen intently is extremely important. Because if we want to continue with the metaphor of the meal, we need to have something to wash down what is being fed to us. And so listening and compassion is, in essence, our drink.
Ooh. Wow.
that was good.
Wow. Okay. And then what's not permissible as long as you're curating the table?
I think just dishonesty, right? Because there's just no place for it at the table. You know, I always think of that that episode of the Cosby Show where Vanessa brings Dabney home and Cliff gives this metaphor of whether or not Dabney likes a steak, and a steak on a plate looks really good and juicy, but a steak on the lid of a garbage can, right? That's a whole, you may not want it that much, right? And
right.
So, you know, presentation is important.
Yeah, I love it. And I would add at the table, Tyranny said in the comments, why Jesus ain't coming to her table. We gonna all say, let the church say amen. I think we can all agree on that one. Black Jesus only, right? Who watches Abbott Elementary? Sweet baby Jesus and the grown one too. Y'all seen that? But I would say in my contribution to the table, I'm just looking at Rowena's house. Family has to be at the table. Too often we do this work by ourselves, and then we go back into our homes, and because we didn't bring them along with us, we're talking a foreign language. to our families. And then we blame our families, but it's like, but you didn't invite me to the table. So how you gonna hold me accountable to stuff you worked out in a community you don't think I'm good enough for, right? And you know, womanist work is, though we always talk about it originating from family, we don't always do the best job of connecting it back to family once we feel like we've learned our core tenets, and we've learned, you know, the things that you know, once we've done the reading and done the writing, sometimes we're guilty of only talking to each other and not going back to the same families that got us going on this journey. So certainly the family has to be at the table, my contribution to the table. And then my contribution to what's not happening at the table is nobody is leaving without some leftovers. Everybody gets a doggy bag. Everybody gets something to take with them so that the experience does not only end there, but that it keeps going, right? We done had a good table now. Okay, so Shakima, Reverend Shakima said we might need some booster seats. Come on and help us so that everybody can have access to the spread and can help themselves if they wish. You better talk about it. You better talk about it. And then she says she and White Jesus don't eat the same food. And yes, correct. Because they're gonna be putting, yeah. Okay, all that. I love it, y'all. I love it, y'all. So here we have created a metaphorical table, which I pray becomes a literal table in our context, where we can spread this table motivated by the authenticity and the vulnerability of Jesus during these really critical days. Y'all have some critical days of the story. Y'all got Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday. These are days where Jesus is, you know, tested the most, tried the most, goes through the most. And you all have given us such beautiful tools, I would say in womanist fashion, of how to make the best of the situation and the circumstance that we find ourselves in. So I'm gonna give it back to you, what I have, and then I'm gonna drop it in the comments a little bit later. This was longer than yesterday, so I couldn't, but I took notes. I took good notes. So according to the room, at our table, the table that we've curated together, we have at our table truth telling, where we are no longer holding in the stories, the pain, or the violence that we've experienced. And we are having at our table friends who can sit in and hold that truth. We have at our table, that was from Reverend Aria. We have at our table from Reverend Jessica, our whole selves. And if we can't bustle our whole selves, we're bringing what we have and we're getting whole there. I love it. We're bringing healing. We're bringing shoulders to cry on. We're bringing support. We're bringing space. From Reverend Rowena, we're bringing compassion at the table. We are bringing the ability to sit with what's being told with a degree of compassion. We're bringing our family, my contribution, and we're bringing some booster seats, Reverend Shakima North's contribution, so that everybody has the same access to what they need. Now, here's what's not happening at our table. At our table, Reverend Aria said we're not doing the death dealing language and the theology that tries to oppress the truth that we just released. We ain't doing that at our table. Reverend Jessica said we're not doing the fake or the phony. Real recognize real. Reverend Jessica said y'all can get up from our table if you ain't trying to bring your side dish. When you know your side dish is actually the entree, you gotta pull up not just to eat but also to contribute. We ain't having nobody freeloading at this table. That's my translation. And she said we're not having, I wrote this down, she didn't say it, but this is what I intuited, no cancellations. If you say you coming, you coming. That's what I felt like was in your spirit. I felt like you wanted to say, don't be acting like you coming and you not, and then we don't have what we need at the table. But I added that. But I feel like we here, my New York sister. Here. Okay, cool. All right. And then Reverend Rowena said, at this table, we're not doing dishonesty. You got to be honest. It's just, it's not permitted for you to show up here dishonestly. And then Reverend Tierney said, and we're not doing white Jesus at this table. We gonna relearn, we gonna teach you afresh if that's what you were taught. We're not gonna judge you if that's where you came from, but you're not gonna stay there at this table. We talking Black Jesus, Black things, Black Christ, like how Kelly Brown son Douglas says, the Black Christ is what we talking about at this table. And then I said, we're not letting anybody leave without leftovers. Okay, we're making sure that everybody leaves with something. Everybody leaves better than they came. And on that table is served the pound cake from yesterday with authenticity and vulnerability and no regrets and good loving and boldness. I think we've made a pretty good womanist offering, if I do say so myself. Clap for yourselves. Team, we did that. I love it. All right. So we're gonna drop that in the comments for everybody who kind of is coming later, watching back. But I love it, y'all. So let's try to embody this. Let's try to embody this table, this safe space for the hard times, the hard conversations that come up. Because Monday, Thursdays, Holy Saturdays, Good Fridays happen in our lives, right? And we can't run from it. You could, but it wouldn't be the healthiest thing to do. But you can set a table, right? Thou prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Amen. All right, y'all, we got a few more minutes before we get out of here. I would love for you all to leave just a parting word. Again, this is the sneak peek before your article. So leave with us just one thing you want somebody to pay attention to in your article. And then let us know what you're up to, how we can support your work. And then I think we have Janae from Woman Preach to give just a kind of a close for us as we are at the end of our 2-day journey. All right. So let's go, Jessica, Aria, Rowena.
I was trying to remember all the things that you asked us.
So just kind of like what do people look forward to for your article? What's the last word from that? And then just what are you up to?
Yeah. So the word that I would use, show up. And what am I up to? I feel like I'm about to be on a marathon for Holy Week. This is a first for me. So I'm preaching tomorrow night virtually for the inaugural 7 of Circle of Sacred Fire with Reverend Dr. Kelly Farrell. Friday, I'm preaching Good Friday in Long Island, New York at Bethel Freeport. And Sunday, I will be preaching the very first time a Resurrection Sunday service. So please pray for this preacher.
Preacher!
Who is navigating. And in a couple of months, I will be in the process of navigating this documentary I got to film last year in my residency. So yes, the Lord is very good. So as we get more information about the film, I will be able to share with you all. So yeah.
Amazing. That is amazing.
For me, I think it's taking the fullness of the table, the bitter and the pain with the sweet and the good and the nourishing, because there is a lot of suffering. But even in sharing all these stories, it's just there's beauty and joy when we have the baby screaming, like hollering in the background, just the sounds of loud, happy children in the midst of all of this. There is beauty in all of this. And so to take the fullness of it, because when just in the story, with the pain comes also the power. And for me, that's enough. And so just thankful for the fullness of it. And so don't just accept a piece, allow yourself to sit and relax and take it all, and then take your leftovers with you in your to-go bag. So when you need a little extra something, it's there waiting for you. But just the thanks. This has been fun. So I'm full. I'm sitting here rocking like I'm in church. Like
that's what we like. We like to see it.
But just, I think for what's coming up next for me, I think one of the things I'm excited about is I'm also a consultant. It's a long title. It's the GIFT Collaborative, it's the Gift of Black Theological Education and Black Church Collaborative. And what it is, it's a group of the historically Black theological schools and their partner or sister, brother, sibling denominations. And the heads of those denominations come together with the deans and the presidents of the seminaries, along with a group of emerging leaders like millennials that represent both the schools and the denominations, talking about the future sustainability of the Black church. And so that's a new project for me. We're doing I'm doing a podcast and an online webinar in May. And so we're going to talk about, this helps to one to say, you know, the Black church is our inheritance. It's a Black owned land, Black owned buildings, Black sovereignty, and we need not lose it. And so what do we need to do to encourage our generation to take the good and work with what's bad, or work with the struggle, and just to make sure that we still have this legacy that our ancestors left for us. And so I'm thrilled to be a part of that work. So emerging generations.
That's
and the
amazing.
future of the Black church. I'm
Congratulations.
excited. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think for me, in terms of what I hope folks will take from the table is pay attention to the stories their tables are telling them. You know, the ones that are obvious versus the ones that are not. And see how your life, your ministry is connected to the stories that are told versus the stories that are not told. And where you find Jesus in the midst of both of those. In terms of what next, I've been kind of slowing down, so to speak, taking things off of my plate, because my boys are 2 and 3. So that's about 6 jobs in and of itself.
Yeah. Yes.
And they were formally adopted in the midst of COVID. So we're learning what it means to be family. And so that's been a blessed and exciting journey so far. And so that's where I am. The only other thing is I've been accepted into a PhD program in organizational leadership with social justice, in a social justice context, because I think I need those tools to continue to do anti-racism work in my church, and how we move forward as the church in 2020.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. She said she's slowing down, but she's starting a PhD program. Ain't that a Black woman thing to
Right, I
say?
just adopted
A Black
some
woman
babies.
say, I got a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. I'm slowing down, y'all, but I'm gonna start this PhD program. That's such a Black woman thing to say. I love it. We're praying for you and your journey, and everybody that has shared. We're praying for all of you. I believe Minister Janae's gonna give us some closing energy.
Oh, hey, fam. Thank y'all so much for joining us these last 2 days. Thank y'all for having this amazing conversation. Thank you to Rise for being our partner for the 2nd year in a row. We are so grateful for good womanist partnerships. Women Preach doesn't do anything without good partners. Our work thrives because of it. Our work thrives because of you. So we are very, very grateful to all of you. I hope that you have a blessed Holy Week. If you want to keep up with us and see the other amazing work that Gabby does for us, you can check us out on all of our socials, on Facebook and on Instagram. You can check out our website, womanpreach.org. Please, please, please also keep up with what Rise is doing. They've got some incredible stuff going on at all times. Have a blessed weekend. Be safe. Eat something delicious on Sunday. I already did half my grocery shopping. I hope you got your Easter dinner ready. And honestly, if you the person that always cook Easter dinner, I hope you don't do it this year. I hope you don't. I hope you put your feet up. I hope if you don't have an Easter dinner, you got an Easter foot soak in your future. Because sometimes you just need to rest on the Lord's Day. Thank y'all so much. For those of y'all that don't know, I'm just talking. Everybody don't know who I am. I'm Janae Colvin. I'm the Director of Programs and Operations for Women Preach. And I am so proud to be in the midst of such amazing Black women changing the world and the Black church. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
We love Janae.
All right,
Wow.
friends, are no longer on the internet. Um,
Okay.
quick note before we start, you know how we do after these things are over. So I had a quick note from Reverend Brittany from Rise. So you all's pieces are going live in the next couple of days, and so we always go through and read and for edits and consistency and second set of eyes and things. So she sent you all an email. So please check your email and let Reverend Brittany know if you're okay with the edits that have been made, and we'll go from there. So that's it. That's all I had to say.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And everyone has been paid. And for those of you that requested mail checks, that has been submitted. You should get it in 7 days, no less. If you don't have it by the end of next week, please let me know so I can fight the bank. Sometimes things happen and I need to fight them. So we don't play
Everybody
with
get some rest. Prayers up for those preaching this week.
that. Yes.
Love
it-
y'all, my new friends. Stay connected. We'll
Have
see
a
you on
good night,
social media.
everyone.
All right. Good night.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Happy Easter.